We've been able to determine no Oliver Press lives in Melbourne or Launceston or Sydney or Alice Springs. And we've noticed that the name is an anagram for ISP Revolter. When we sent him a polite email, the editor of the NT News, Julian Ritchie, couldn't resist a ritual jibe about Mediawatch spending its time
discussing the latest flavour innovation in fat-free soy lattes.
It's an oldie, Julian, but a goodie. Anyway, with that off his chest, Mr. Ritchie told us that
all letters to the editor require a full name, a home address or PO box, and a valid contact phone number.
That's standard practice at most newspapers, but as Mr. Ritchie says,
unfortunately, no system is foolproof.
Obviously not. But does it matter these days if letter writers' names are genuine when hundreds of anonymous comments are posted on newspaper websites every day? Earlier this year, you may remember, the South Australian government tried to make it unlawful for websites like the advertiser's Adelaide Now to publish posts about political matters during an election campaign unless they carried the writer's real name. The Tiser and many of its readers worked themselves into a fearful lather.
Public gagged.
Government censors internet.
The day that story appeared, the State Attorney-General, Michael Atkinson, backed down. The law will be repealed, he said, and meanwhile won't be applied.
No one need fear now that they are being censored on the net or in blogs, whether they blog under their own name or anonymously.
Well, they should still be a little afraid of Mr. Atkinson. Just a week ago, Adelaide Now published this.
On the 8th of December 2009, a post appeared on Adelaide Now which referred to Attorney-General Michael Atkinson as a crook. Once it was drawn to our attention, we removed it immediately. Adelaide Now accepts that such a suggestion is unfounded and unreservedly apologises to Mr. Atkinson for the post.
That's what we call in the trade a grovel. And it appeared as a result of a fierce letter from lawyers acting for the Attorney-General. It surprised Adelaide Now because it thought the matter had been dealt with weeks ago. The offending post responded to this story back in early December.
Bikies gather in city to unite against anti-consorting orders.
The post did call Mr. Atkinson a crook, which was certainly defamatory. That's why it was rapidly taken down, and this appeared instead.
Adelaide Now, posted at 6:42 p.m. Today a post appeared on Adelaide Now which referred to Attorney-General Michael Atkinson as a crook.
And so on. Precisely the same apology as Adelaide Now posted again last week. That first grovel apparently didn't satisfy Mr. Atkinson. And what hasn't been revealed before is that he didn't stop at the website. The man who wrote the original post made the mistake of using his real name. And on Christmas Eve, Dean McQuillan too received a letter from the Attorney-General's lawyers. His post on December the 8th, it said, was
highly defamatory of our client.
But Mr. Atkinson was prepared to resolve his claim, the letter said, in return for
1. $20,000 as compensation. 2. Publication of a full retraction and apology to be posted on the Adelaide Now website.
Mr. McQuillan, who says he's bankrupt, sent a robust response and has heard nothing since. But be warned. In South Australia at least, if you want to be rude about a minister in an internet post, safer to do it anonymously. The state's chief law officer is prepared to threaten an ordinary citizen with ruin for posting rude remarks on the net, even when they were taken down within a couple of hours. And now, 3 Australians who would probably appreciate a lot more anonymity.
Mossad hit snares Australians.
Aussies caught in Israeli spy hit.
The story had broken more than 24 hours earlier. During the course of Thursday, some news outlets realised that though the photos in the 3 Australian passports used by the Dubai hit team were faked, other details were genuine.
The passports belong to 34-year-old Adam Corman, heavily pregnant 27-year-old Nicole McCabe, and 28-year-old Joshua Bruce.
By Thursday evening, 7 News was blurring the passport numbers and dates of birth. ABC News was also trying to play it safe.
The Al Mabou assassins appear to have forged their passports to travel to Dubai.
But 9 and 10 still didn't bother, and nor did the newspapers next morning. In the Fairfax papers and in News Limited's, an identity thief could find every detail he needed. And if he didn't want to shell out a couple of bucks, he could get them for free on news.com.au. We've blurred the details, The originals are crystal clear. The Sydney Morning Herald told Mediawatch today that
the original passports had been irrevocably compromised by their use in the Dubai operation. No personal information other than date of birth and place of birth was revealed.
Well, that's not true. The Herald and lots of others published the passport numbers too. And as online magazine IT News established on Friday,
banks accept Dubai assassins' stolen IDs. Passport credentials still valid for identity fraud.
Using the passport and other details published in the media, IT News was able to
open transaction accounts online with Australian financial institutions.
The banks, says IT News, use an identification agency, which
checks the validity of the date of birth and other details on the passport by accessing the My Passport feature on the department's website.
We asked the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade why it hadn't cancelled the passports, or at least ensured its website couldn't be used to verify that they were genuine. We received no response to that question. But what we're wondering is why so few Australian media outlets followed the example of the ABC and 7 by blurring the details themselves. As IT News says, the failure to do so could well have
amplified the impact on those affected by the identity theft.
It wouldn't have affected the story to have taken a bit more care. As for IT News, it may well have been breaking the law. At least it has closed the accounts it had managed to open. While we're on the subject of identity, back briefly to the Daily Telegraph and Joe Hildebrand's gossip column in Sydney Confidential.
We can only hope swimwear mogul Jeremy Ferris, son of Liberal warrior Jeannie Ferris, hauls in a mozza for his penthouse at the Bondi.
The piece went on to detail the succession of tragedies that have hit the family of the late Senator Ferris. After her death in 2007,
her husband Bob died literally of a broken heart. Then Jeremy's brother Robert effectively starved himself to death with grief after his girlfriend died from a brain hemorrhage.
Pretty heavy stuff to hang off the news that someone is selling their house. Especially since the swimwear mogul who has been selling his multi-million-dollar Bondi pad is no relation at all to the late Senator Jeannie Ferris. Her son is a different Jeremy Ferris altogether, and he's not happy. Both he and a friend emailed the telly but heard nothing. On Saturday, the paper printed a correction which left us baffled.
The Daily Telegraph apologises for the misunderstanding. The error was made during the production process and not by the author.
But the whole point of the story, such as it was, hung on the swimwear mogul being the son of the senator. If the author didn't make the error, who did? Did the subs invent the whole story? Joe Hildebrand hasn't enlightened us. He's told Mediawatch
there will be no further comment.
Very odd. That's it for now. As always, more on our website or leave your thoughts on our message board. Till next time, good night.